I think a contribution made in this place earlier today by Senator Watt, the Labor Senator for Queensland, in again an almost grubby personal attack by the senator on another member of the parliament, a senator in this place, is starting to show a trend. I haven't seen that here before in this Senate in my 3+ years, and I urge everybody to keep a focus on Senator Watt's contribution of playing the person and not the issue, not a challenge to policy, but playing the individuals. It is a very, very disturbing trend appearing in his behaviour in this place. This is a big boys' sandpit and girls' sandpit, and we're all used to the strong, rough and tumble of politics in this place. But Senator Watt needs, his colleagues need to have a yarn to him to explain to him that personal politics has no place in this chamber. This is the second attack that he's made in the last 2 sitting weeks of this parliament, and it is a very unsavoury practice and one that he should reflect upon, and perhaps it's clear that his skill base doesn't allow him to make the argument on facts and on policy issues, and perhaps some of his colleagues could provide him with some support and education so that he can lift the standard of his contributions into this place. But let's make no mistake about what the fundamental objective of Senator Watt and the Labor Party, and indeed a new coalition between the Labor opposition and the Greens on the crossbench. This has one single objective in life, and that is to ensure that there is no further development of the coal industry in my home state of Queensland. So I urge all Queenslanders to look very thoroughly at the motives behind Senator Watt and his colleagues in the Greens in what they are doing. Every single aspect is directed at inhibiting the growth of the Galilee Basin, the growth that will come with NAIF, with the Northern Australia Investment Fund, the development of the rail line, and all of the massive benefits that will flow to my constituency in Queensland when through to you, Acting Deputy Chair, when the opposition in this place, including the Greens and the Labor Party, join with a government in a bipartisan approach to develop the economy of my home state and all the benefits that will bring to the nation. Now, the attack today, for example, can I say, in relation to NAIF and the appointment of directors on NAIF,
Senator Watt, you were heard in silence.
Let's just bring some things to the attention of the chamber. Delivered by a Labor government, either when Senator Watt was the Chief of Staff to the failed Labor Premier, or indeed was a part of the failed Labor government, the one that was punted, where he was able to lose one of Labor's finest seats that had been held with an unbroken Labor member for 40 years. Let's look at some of the appointments there. And this is directly to Senator Watt and his Labor colleagues. They appointed the former Labor ministers Mike Reynolds and Paul Lucas to the boards of the Port of Townsville and Powerlink. Very powerful and influential positions.
Senator O'Sullivan, I would just ask Senator Watt, your interjections are starting to become disorderly, and you were heard in silence on this matter, so I'd ask for the same degree of respect to Senator O'Sullivan. Senator O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President. And, as I often say in this place, you know when you're on the money. You know when they're on the money with the volume and frequency of attempts to try and impede your presentation. So they appointed the former, this is Senator Watt and colleagues, either in one of the 2 capacities I mentioned, they appointed former ALP President and union boss Dick Williams to Chairman of the Queensland Building and Construction Commission. Now tell me if that's not a conflict. Tell me if that's not a massive conflict. Labor Mayor Jim Sawley to Chairman of CS Energy. I don't know what Jim thinks about...
Senator O'Sullivan, point of order. Senator Watt.
Point of order. If Senator O'Sullivan had listened to my speech, it was not about the appointment of cronies.
Senator Watt, you know as well as I...
It was about conflicts of interest and he hasn't disclosed what they are.
Senator Watt, that is not a point of order. You know it's not a point of order. It is a debating point. And again, I remind you, you were heard in silence. Please give that same degree of respect to Senator O'Sullivan. You can take the discussion out of this chamber at another time. Senator O'Sullivan.
Oh, thank you, Madam Acting Deputy Chair. That's seemed to be a little bit thin-skinned about the exposure of some of these well-known facts. So, appointed Labor Premier Peter Beattie to head the Commonwealth Games Corporation. The Commonwealth Games Corporation, what a conflict. Appointed former Labor Treasurer Terry McEnroth to the board of Q Super. I mean, this just goes on and on. I don't have time, because I don't intend to devote the substantive bulk of this speech to these exposures. Appointed former Labor Minister Steve Bredhow to the board of Queensland Trade and Investment. I mean, these are appointments that clearly would be in conflict with all the best practices in the appointment of people to these very important positions. But look, the message that needs to come from here, this is about a Labor senator who's obviously been selected amongst the ranks of the Labor and the Greens to try and lead the charge, and I think that'll prove to be a disastrous decision in the fullness of time. There are many of his colleagues who are much better qualified and competent to do this, but this is about stopping 44,000 direct jobs that are virtual cusp of shovel-ready in our Central Queensland, his Central Queensland and my Central Queensland. Of course, the reports show that there are some 150,000 related jobs extending to this. This is in an area that is suffering employment depression, being attacked by a Labor Party who parade themselves as being those who are in the interests of the working men and women. Well, during the parliament that Senator Watt was a part of, and in his previous life as a staffer to a failed premier, there were 14,000 jobs routed out of this particular area in my home state of Queensland. There are thousands of empty houses in Mackay, in Rockhampton, in Gladstone, in Gracemere and Emerald, places that I'm certain Senator Watt wouldn't recognise, notwithstanding that I've offered to take him on a tour of these places where we'll have some public forums. So our second largest export industry, with 90% of its production exported, is under a direct and unprecedented attack by the federal Labor Party and the federal Greens. Again, a very tight coalition that we've seen in their previous term in government. We all know how that turned out for the economy of the nation. His own state Labor colleagues this week reported a surplus of some $2.3, I think it was, billion. Now, where did that come from? That come from the $3.4 billion of royalties generated by the coal industry. This is like chewing your arm off at the wrist. That's what this is like. Resisting the redevelopment, a generational opportunity to regenerate Central Queensland, Townsville, 9% unemployment in certain age category. People who would be well and very attractive, well-placed to take possession of some of these jobs. There is not a business in Queensland, particularly between Townsville and Gladstone, and certainly north of the Tropic of Capricorn to Mackay, that do not rely significantly on this industry. And the development of the Galilee Basin is going to give them a brand new opportunity in life to enhance not only the economy of that region and the economy of the state, administered currently by a Labor government, who are in absolute conflict with this push, but in fact the national economy. This is about stopping the coal industry. This is about discarding thousands of existing jobs. This is about preventing the development of thousands of more jobs, not just with the development of the Galilee Basin, but all of the things that the Northern Australia Investment Fund is going to bring online over the next decade. It has been doing some fantastic work. It's on the cusp of delivering decisions that will support Northern Australia, and it defies logic that any Queensland senator would resist these things, would attack these things, would diminish the potential of these things, and I just hope that every person over the age of 18 in my home state is watching and listening carefully, and I'll aid them to the best of my ability to point them in the right direction.